Here is the voice of the working class, Rick Smith.
And welcome, brothers, sisters, working class heroes. This is the Rick Smith Show. Thanks so much for being here today on the big program. Lots to get to, lots to talk about. What fun today in the Senate Judiciary Committee. Oh, the 11, the 10 white guys and the one crazy white woman. Oh, those wacky white people. Oh my, how emotional they are. How unhinged. I don't think you're allowed to let old white people out in the daytime. I really don't. I don't think you should allow old white people to talk to a black woman in public. I think we should make a law against that. I don't think they should be allowed to ask questions. I don't think they're capable of it. I don't think they're mature enough. I don't think they're. I think there's a problem here. Houston, we have a problem. The problem is old white people don't know how to behave in public. You just can't take them out. Can't let them out of the house. They just end up embarrassing the country. And the display today, disgraceful, but expected. And the thing is, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on the nonsense because it's exactly what we talked about right at the beginning. It's what we were going to expect. I said from the start, if this were a black person, they could do it. They could hold it together. They could. If it were a woman, they could do it. They could hold it together. But the fact that it was a black woman, look, it's too much for them. It's too much to ask for old white people today to deal with this. It's so much change, so difficult. A lot of history here, a lot to deal with. It's a struggle. And there's so many things, so many grievances that they hold so dear, like the 20th century, people being happy, being married, whether they're the same sex or a different color, they're struggling with that, struggling with, couples having privacy rights. They're struggling with it. I know this is decided law for decades and decades, but they're still having a hard time getting over it. And it came out, and there's a moment where we go, we have to maybe have a group session, a little bit of of help for them, maybe some mental health treatments. Maybe it starts with an election, and we throw them out and get some new crazy people in. Don't know. Lindsey Graham did not do the nation proud today, asking the judge what I almost can't get it out, to be honest. What faith are you, by the way? I mean, how does that come up in a Supreme Court nomination hearing? How does that? Could you fairly judge a Catholic? Oh my gosh! But yeah, that is what Lindsey came up with. And the funny thing is Lindsey, unhinged throughout his little song and dance. Now understand. Now look, I make fun of the 10 white guys and the white woman, but I think Ben Sass said it best. He was talking about the want to put cameras in the Supreme Court room and his hope that they don't because of the jackassery that you see whenever the cameras are on. And I think he was talking about the other 9 white guys and white women around him because there they were, front and center, tons of, crazy. I thought very, very interesting that he points it out. This being one of those moments where you go, maybe this is one of those things that shouldn't be on camera, because you saw Lindsey Graham, you saw Ted Cruz, you saw a bunch of these folks, stepping out into crazy land, attempting to grab their base, attempting to, make a name for themselves. I mean, Josh Hawley's going to be running for president. This was, hey, look at me. Look what I'm willing to do. Watch me put on my song and dance hat. Let me entertain. Let me show you how far I'm willing to go. And as I said on Monday, I don't see this. This isn't going to change anything. She is going to be seated on the Supreme Court. It's going to happen. And I think we have to, she's qualified. I think she's going to be a good Supreme Court justice. I think that's the way to go. Let's get Jeff's thoughts. Jeff from Atlanta. Jeff, what's on your mind?
Holy crap.
Thanks, Jeff. Appreciate the time, man. That was a great call. That lasted all of a second. He couldn't hold his water. Look at that. Right from the beginning, we're going to start off with something that we can't go to. So, you got something better than that?
Communicating over the interweb and stuff,
This is live terrestrial radio, but go.
I mean, the Lindsey Graham crap. He doesn't know which end to kiss. So
I think he does
I have
actually.
To be politically correct because I'm on your TV radio show, so you don't get the FCC cancellation.
I appreciate that, Jeff.
But and.
So did you get to watch much of the kangaroo court today?
No, I didn't. Because why? Because I'm working.
Yeah.
And you know that I'm working out of my area because I sent you that message, and I'm an hour and a half away out of home. But the reason why I'm doing that is because there's no work in my area, and because I'm a journeyman iron worker, I can travel. So.
Yeah, you got to go where the work is,
Jeff. Rights within the union.
Yeah, good for you.
Yeah.
I mean, look, it's a good job, and that's part of the ugly of that industry.
Well, it's the ugly, but the uglier is the sitting on your butt at home collecting unenjoyment. Watching your place implode. So,
So what are we working on now?
Right now, I'm working on a hydroelectric plant up in the Tennessee Valley Authority.
Outstanding. We need more energy. We need better energy sources. We need renewable stuff. We need to be doing that in
and this is renewable. It's called a river.
Yeah.
The Tennessee River. You might have heard of it. It's one of the rivers in this country, and like the Mississippi. Or, maybe you've heard of the Great Lake, St. Lawrence Seaway or something like that,
I tripped over that once. Yeah.
Okay, good.
No, I mean, that's all great stuff. I mean, stuff we should be doing massive projects
and they create electricity through them. So.
Good stuff. Nice. Appreciate the thoughts, Jeff.
Yep. I'm on your back, and I got your side, and, whatever you need, I'm there for you.
Terrific. So. I appreciate it, man. Thanks so much.
All right.
Outstanding. Thanks, Jeff. And look, we do. We right now, the moment we need more investment in moving us in the right direction. And that's a good segue to get away from the asshattery that we've seen in the Senate. That is just, look, I don't want to waste any more time on Lindsey Graham or any of those. The only thing that I can say that is positive, she's going to be on the Supreme Court, and that's a good thing. Because if there's one thing that the judge did show me is, wow, she has the restraint and the temperament to sit on that court. She did not do what Kavanaugh did. There was no temper tantrum. There was no whining. There was no complaining. There was no, there were no calendars. Oh, there were no creepy calendars. So look, and this is where the Republicans are having their moment. She's going to be on the court, and that's a good thing. Now, what had my anger today, what got my attention today, not the idiocy in the Senate Judiciary Committee, because expected that. Again, completely expected. Nothing here surprising. Nothing. Although I do want to see Josh Hawley and Ted Cruz and the rest. I want to see their search histories. I want to know which one or multiple of them is the pedophile, because they're so fixated on the soft on porn, child porn thing. But this story about General Mills, this caught my attention over at the Wall Street Journal. Because my mind goes to this place of how can you have record sales, record profits on one hand, and be broke on the other. I mean, I wish someone could explain this to me, because here's the scenario. Their quarterly profits up 11% to $660 million. Revenues at record highs. In fact, beat the expectations. They then gave out quarterly dividends of $300 million. Investors very, very happy. Thank you very much. And then they fired 1,400 workers. Sorry, we don't have, we're broke. Don't have the money. Their retail segment grew by up to $2.81 billion. Their organic sales were up 6% over last quarter. And this is what I love. For the fiscal year, General Mills said it expected organic net sales to rise by 5%. But thanks to higher pricing, they made it all the way up to the 6%. They didn't need it, but they got there because of what? Oh, that's right. They raised the prices. Because they raised prices 9%. Cost of inflation. They reiterated that the cost inflation of 8 to 9% and significant cost related to supply chain disruption. That's the problem. So they had to raise their prices. This is where the inflation's coming from, folks. This is where it's coming from. It's coming from corporations like this, because understand, they're wildly profitable, doing much better than they've done, making everyone in the top half of the world, or the top 1% of the world, very happy indeed. Handing out massive dividends. They earned $1.08 per share. That's better than the 96 cents they got last year. Things doing wonderfully. And here's the thing. You keep talking about inflation. This is why inflation keeps going up. Corporate America sees it as great opportunity. Hey, we can make money. There's a good excuse. We can raise money because, hey, organics, we were expecting higher prices, got us more. Hey, higher prices, more profit. Hey, there's a model here. Blame it on the pandemic. Blame it on Joe Biden. Yeah. And you get dimwits who go, yeah, it's Joe Biden's fault. It's not corporate America's fault. For instance, gas prices are up about $1.30, maybe a little bit more over the last year. Yesterday, we talked about the median home prices up over $55,000, almost 56 grand, the median price of a home. Why is nobody going crazy over that? And we've talked about why that price is going up, because corporate America and Wall Street are buying up all of the low-volume homes. They're buying up anything under 150 grand. They're just sucking up all across this country. Right now, you have investors who own, and this number blew my mind, 1 in 7 homes right now are owned by investors. Stop and think about that for a minute. Think about the enormous amount of inventory owned by corporate America. And, we're not going, well, gee, why is that going up? Why can't our kids buy a house? Why is everything going up? Why is it so expensive? Well, because the wealthy are robbing us. We're being ripped off every day. And the wealthy just keep getting wealthier. And, well, the working class keep falling behind. Because guess what? We still have not raised the minimum wage. If we had what I've talked about for years, an automatic adjuster for inflation at the beginning of every year for minimum wage, it would keep going up to match what inflation is. So it wouldn't be eroded by inflation. So if inflation went up, your wages went up. And you would be able to meet it. The number one tool to fight inflation for working people is having a union contract and then having laws that are going to adjust to that so that your wages don't get eroded by it. But we don't have either. And that's just how corporate America and the wealthy want it. Because that means more for them. Less for you, clearly, more for them. And I point to this Bloomberg article as one of those more for them moments. Evidently last year was great for Wall Street. Industry bonus pool $45 billion last year. And you go, well, what's that? Well, that's the bonus money that they divvy out to all of the Wall Street traders and all of the analysts and all the people who speculate and rig the game. So that's like their yay Christmas bonus stuff. Up 21% from the year before. Did anyone else get a 21% raise? Now inflation was 7.5%. Wow. How do we get on that bonus thing? Now understand these bonuses, this $45 billion in bonus money, this is on top of their salaries. This is on top of their stock options. This is on top of their other deferred compensation. This is on top of everything. This is just sweetener. This is just, hey, thanks for being here. Thanks for coming to Wall Street. Or staying home and working from home on Wall Street. How do everybody else get this kind of a gig? Now, what's that work out to per person? About $257,500, according to the New York State Comptroller Thomas DiNapoli. Now, DiNapoli, he's thrilled. He says, no, this is great. It's great. We want them to get this because, from his point of view, it's more tax dollars going into the state of New York and the city of New York, which I fully understand. But when you start seeing this kind of massive amount of money going to the handfuls, it kind of makes you wonder about that average working stiff who's just trying to squirrel away a couple of bucks. And you go, well, why is this money going to them? Why is this, such a big deal? Well, a lot of IPOs, that's a good thing. And of course, higher underwriting fees. Lots of higher underwriting fees. Lots of fees. And who do they pass those on to? Oh, yeah, you. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you, the consumer. Hey, never mind. It's good for business. Good for profits. Just like the cereal. Love to hear your thoughts. 1-866-416-RICK. 1-866-416-7425. We'll take a quick break right back after this. If you're just joining us, make sure you grab the podcast. Don't miss an episode. Because, hey, what more do you got to do? Listen to the podcast. And also subscribe to our YouTube channel, Facebook, all of our social media. Never miss an opportunity to interact. Going to take a quick break. Right back. Stick around. If you're a fan of the show, you've heard our labor history in 2 segments, and you can hear them on the radio pretty much anywhere in the U.S. Labor history has never been more important than it is right now. So here's what we'd like you to do. Tell a teacher. Tell a teacher that labor history is important and that they can get digestible 2-minute lessons that are absolutely free. Free to download, free to use, free to share. Tell a teacher to go to thericksmithshow.com/history and help us put labor back where it belongs, in the classroom. Generations of American workers fought, bled, and died to build the American way of life. It's our job to keep their stories alive. Go tell a teacher that we're here to help them do just that. Find us at thericksmithshow.com/history today.
Welcome back to The Rick Smith Show. Now, here is Rick Smith.
1-866-416-RICK. 1-866-416-7425. You got a thought, question, comment, something on your mind? Let's jump right in. Let's grab Alice on line 1. Alice, how we doing today?
I'm doing good. How about you?
Oh, can't complain. What's on your mind?
Well, what I wanted to say was, with Clarence Thomas there in the hospital, and he's got an infection or what have you, who knows? Maybe Biden will get a chance to put another justice on court.
Yeah, I'm not wishing anyone ill. I'm not making any hopes, but I know there are a lot of people who are.
Well, I'm not wishing any ill, but, I'm thinking, who knows? So perhaps we'll get to see the clown show all over again, or else Mitch will pull his famous, oh no, it's too close to 2 more years, gotta hold off. Who knows?
No, so have you been watching any of the clown show there, the circus?
Oh yeah, I've been watching it, shaking my head, and my husband and I are just Going, are you kidding me? Could they be any more idiotic or show their willful ignorance?
Yeah, well, look, they're not trying to derail the nomination. They're not trying to change any minds. They're simply playing to their base. And you know it like anyone else. This is all performance art for the narrow-minded base that they need to cobble together to get reelected for their next Senate run, to move up to the presidency, for whatever they're going to do next, for their next book deal. This is all about fleecing the base.
Oh, absolutely. That's exactly what it is to say, oh, look how horrible all these Democrats are. They're just child molesters and Satan worshipers, and the neighbor next door, she's having a fit, going, oh, they're putting a black woman on there, and they're just doing that. She's not, qualified, going on and on. I'm just rolling my eyes because I'm thinking, not today, Alice. I'm not in the mood to get into it, but there you are. There
you go, Alice. Great stuff. I appreciate it. I love Alice. And look, there's just some of those days you just don't want to get into it. It gets to that point, and look, this is one of those days. And I don't think Democrats should. I think this is one of those moments, and I think Cory Booker did what was a great job here. I thought Booker did a really good job of saying, look, you've been going for this your whole life. You've been moving in this direction, from the time you were a little girl, from the time they told you couldn't do it, he went through her whole story and in the most joyous, happy kind of way and celebrated. I thought Booker's minutes were very well used and important in saying, look, this is kind of a historic moment. And look, she is qualified, and she, he said, look, I went to law school. I didn't get on the law review. I didn't get to do what you were able to do. And look, Lindsey Graham did attack her for defending the people in Guantanamo Bay. And look, I remember at the time when there were lawyers who had to defend them. And I remember going, I'll tell you, I wouldn't want that job because that's a career killer, because it's going to follow you no matter where you go. Even though one of the reasons that John Adams is my favorite president is because he did defend and won the trials for those accused in the Boston Massacre, because of that concept that everyone deserves a vigorous defense. That if you're going to take someone's freedom, that if you're going to put somebody in prison, you're going to execute someone especially, that you better damn well be right that this person is guilty of what you're accusing them of. And the state had better be able to prove beyond a reasonable doubt. And that everyone is entitled to a defense, even the most heinous crimes. And, I give her credit for that. I give her credit for standing up. And look, they're saying, oh, you called George W. Bush a war criminal. Well, she didn't call him a war criminal, but she did say, hey, there were some war crimes here. Torturing people, kind of war crimes. Because look at what we're looking at, what's going on in Ukraine. Kind of difficult for us to go, hey, what you're doing there, something to think about. Just my thoughts. Love to hear yours. You can email me, rick@thericksmithshow.com. If you're just joining us, you can email me, rick@thericksmithshow.com. Make sure to grab the podcast. Going to take a quick break. When we come back, comedian, actor Tom Arnold going to be here, share some thoughts on where things are going, talk about what he's up to, and all of that. Quick break, right back. Stick around. You're listening to The Rick Smith Show. I'm Rick Smith, and this is Labor History in 2. On this day in labor history, the year was 2005. That was the day 15 workers were killed and another 170 were seriously injured in an explosion at the BP refinery in Texas City, Texas. Workers were restarting a unit down for repairs. As they filled a tower with gasoline, it overflowed, sending a geyser into the air. The igniting hydrogen vapor cloud created a chain of explosions that destroyed the nearby trailer housing temporary contract workers. The explosion shed light on many key problems throughout the industry: the increasing use of contract workers, safety shortcuts, and qualitative lack of industrial process controls. A 2007 Chemical Safety Board report found that years of cost-cutting, poor worker training, and a safety culture with serious deficiencies left the plant vulnerable vulnerable to catastrophe, but company leaders ignored the warning signs. OSHA fined BP $21.3 million and more, but ultimately settled for $13 million. For years, the catastrophe was studied closely to eliminate the hazards. But 10 years later, a 2015 joint investigative series by the Texas Tribune and Houston Chronicle found that, quote, there is little evidence that the 15 lives lost on that March day brought much of anything. The death toll at U.S. refineries has barely slowed. At least 64 energy company employees and contractors were killed in the decade before the blast. At least 58 have died in the 10 years since. The Department of Energy has tracked nearly 350 fires at refineries in the last 8 years, almost one a week. Refinery workers have gone on strike, demanding, among other issues, an increased emphasis on safety. For the United Steelworkers, it is a daily fight to implement the critical safety actions the union developed in the aftermath of the blast.
Let's talk pills. To treat everything from allergies to heart problems, half of Americans take a prescription medicine every day, and nearly all of us reach for the pill bottle on occasion. It's perfectly safe, though, because the Food and Drug Administration regulates the ingredients that go into those medicinal compounds, right? Yes, assuming they're produced in the USA. Aren't they? Mostly, no. Take antibiotics. The New York Times reports that ingredients for the majority of these bacteria fighters are now made almost exclusively in China and India, as are the components of dozens of other major drugs. Unbeknownst to most Americans and to our doctors, China has become the world's preeminent supplier of medicines. As one major drug company puts it, if tomorrow China stopped supplying pharmaceutical ingredients, the worldwide pharmaceutical industry would collapse. What's at work here is mindless globalization and deregulation. Our politicians threw open the U.S. market to drug imports while also letting foreign manufacturers go uninspected and unregulated. So, companies located in China can cut corners and undercut our own regulated pill makers. America's last producer of penicillin's ingredients, for example, shut down in 2004, leaving us dependent on China. FDA, our supposed watchdog, doesn't even know where a drug's ingredients come from. Why? Because drug companies say they don't like to reveal their sources. So they don't. The Times found that one federal database lists the existence of about 3,000 foreign drug plants that ship to the U.S., while another lists 6,800. No one knows which is correct, if either. This is Jim Hightower saying, this is ridiculous. For the sake of America's health, security, and economy, let's regulate all pill makers and rebuild our own industry.
Welcome back to the Rick Smith Show. Now, here is Rick Smith.
So the big headline today, I'm sure my Trumpkin fans aren't going to be thrilled with this, but you may remember that prosecutor that resigned abruptly last month. His name was Mark Pomerantz. He evidently, and we thought this, evidently he resigned because he believes Trump should be held accountable and is guilty of multiple felonies. Not just one or two, but multiple. And he was ticked that they basically abruptly stopped pursuing the indictment of Trump. So he's like, screw this, I'm out of here. We should be holding this guy accountable. And I'm like, we should be holding him accountable, damn it. No one should be above the law. Just no one. Anyway, here to share some thoughts on, well, this and, well, whatever else we can jump into. I've asked our good friend Tom Arnold to come talk with us. Tom's you know him and love him as the actor and comedian. I know him as one of my Twitter buddies and also a good friend of the show. Tom, thanks for taking time for us.
Thanks, Rick. Great to be here. You're looking good.
I appreciate it. I'm giving it a try. So do you. It's been a while. So what do you think of this guy, bailing because evidently we're not going to indict Trump in New York?
Well, I think there's a couple things. First of all, that guy's a brilliant attorney, and I don't know everything, but I do know this. I had Eric Swalwell. I did a fundraiser for him recently, the congressman, and on one side was Leah Black, who was a philanthropist, and then her husband Roy Black, who was a famous attorney. And Leah was just pelting him. When does Trump go down? When does Trump go down? When does Trump go down? And she says, he is so guilty. He's this. And then he would turn over to Roy, and Roy said, yeah, for that case, the Manhattan, that's just not going to happen. Maybe the state case. But he will be held. First of all, he's not president anymore. And he's a loser hanging out at his club, entertaining people. That's the big victory. People are like, well, do you regret speaking up about him? Nothing came of it. Well, he's not the president.
Yeah.
We came so close, and we're in this thing with the Ukraine and Russia, and people that are lying that say Trump would have handled it or it wouldn't have happened. He would have backed out of NATO. He's a coward and a bully, but there's no way he would have done anything to stop Vladimir Putin, who, by the way, is turning into Donald Trump, like with his rally, that weirdness. And I assume that Vladimir Putin is sick. I assume he's getting some kind of medical treatment besides the fillers in his face. And, it's a little scary because when someone's like that, they're like, hey, I gotta leave my legacy, which is the end of the world.
Yeah.
But I feel like, back to the Manhattan attorney, it's disappointing, but I'm very hopeful that, today Mo Brooks came out, the congressman that Trump supported and then spoke at the January 6th thing with his bulletproof vest. He's such a brave guy, and said Trump is not supporting him now because he wanted him to overturn the election and do this and that. And that's really the key, is the people close to Trump turning on him. And I can tell you, they're when you hear the January 6th, when they go live on TV fairly soon with all their evidence, it's going to be it's pretty massive, and it has the ability to change the way at least the politicians close to him conduct themselves.
Yeah, I look at this, and we're in a moment where I don't think that's going to happen either. And I know we're probably going to disagree on it. I don't think he's going to be held accountable. I think this little, brink of World War III thing, I think this is going to help him out immensely.
Well, I don't, but I have to say Joe Biden is taking so much crap, and I personally think he's doing a great job.
I do too.
He had to keep all those people together in Europe, and the people on the other side on Fox are like, well, he's way behind, and he really doesn't want to start World War III. I'm against it. I'm 63, single dad with an 8-year-old and a 6-year-old, and although I may be close to the end, I'm against World War III. So the people, they say, well, Trump would have threatened, and he would have done this and that, and that's scary. And so, I don't.
Do you think Trump would have threatened? I think Trump would have sent flowers.
No. Well, he threatened North Korea with his big missile, little missile. He definitely wouldn't have threatened Vladimir Putin directly. Ever since he got to know him in 2013 at the Miss Universe contest, which, by the way, Trump rigged it so that Vladimir Putin's girlfriend won it. I don't know if it was the 93 or the 93 one or whichever one it was, 2013, 2014. But my friends were with Trump because they worked on The Apprentice, they worked on all those shows, and we had a lot of people in common. And Putin told him then, I want you to be president. And Trump doesn't have the ability to stand up to anybody who he thinks likes him or votes for him, whether it be David Duke or Vladimir Putin or the Proud Boys. There's something in his nature, a cowardice, that he literally won't say anything about those people. And I think that Vladimir Putin probably realized once Trump was definitely not elected that we were not pulling out of NATO, and I bet that was frustrating for him. But no, he wouldn't have. It would have been so scary with Trump.
No,
it's scarier.
No, I'm right there with you. You're listening to The Rick Smith Show. We're here with Tom Arnold, comedian, actor. If you're just joining us, make sure you check out our podcast at thericksmithshow.com. Now, I know you've been busy. Everybody's getting back to work. I know you've had to get back to work. Every time I reach out to you, go, oh, man, I'm working. I got work to do. But you're not working too much. I know you've got a big charity event coming up that I want to make sure we get to because I want to make sure people have an opportunity to help you out. I know you've been doing this for like 25 years now.
Yeah.
This is near and dear to your heart. Tell me what you're working on this gala you guys do.
Well, it's literally near and dear to my heart. It's a heart camp for kids. It's called Camp del Corazon. It's on Catalina Island. Been doing it 25 years. We've taken kids from all over. We've had 10,000 kids, 15,000 kids come through there. We take no money. We set their families up. We counsel their families. We set them up with insurance. And it's a full year-round thing that we do. And then we have the actual camp in the summer because kids should go to camp. Kids should have the opportunity, all kids, to have fun at camp. And a lot of our kids, it's the first time they've ever slept overnight from home because it's the biggest camp in America for kids with heart defects and heart disease. And we take them, and we don't even let their parents call. We take them, and I tell you, it changes their lives. It's changed my life. You know, I have heart disease and heart failure, and I'm selfish because you sure get to know the great doctors when you have a heart camp.
Right.
And so, I've been taken very good care of. And, anybody that wants to get involved, we're having the gala coming up April 16th, or you want to donate, or you want to be a counselor, because that's a life-changing thing. The people that come, and we have a lot of nurses, and we have but then we have folks that say, I really want to be a part of this. How can I help? And it can change your life.
And how do we do that? How do I make a donation?
CampDelCorazon.org. And I think the correct spelling of it is there. CampDelCorazon.org. And you can make a direct donation. There's some information on the gala thing, which I just retweeted and sent to you.
And we'll get stuff out on social media and all of our places to make sure folks do, and we will make a donation to make sure that you get to do this. How did you get involved in this? How did this become your thing?
Well, years ago, a friend of mine from a movie studio, his daughter was hiking, his 17-year-old daughter, in the Santa Monica Mountains. She got a virus. It shut down all of her organs, and everything came back but her heart. And this brilliant doctor, Mark Plunkett, over at UCLA, came in. She got a heart transplant, saved her life. It was very touch and go. And my friend Mike Pasternak, who was over at Lionsgate, said, "I want you to do me a favor. There's a camp, and they're great at camp stuff, but they don't know how to raise money. They have no contacts in our business. Would you consider getting involved?" And I just fell in love with it. I fell in love with the camp, and it makes me feel good about myself, and I get my friends to get involved, and my kids love going there. It's a wonderful thing, and again, it's selfish because it makes me feel good about myself, and I'm very grateful to be involved.
We will make sure that we get links out on social media. CampDelCorazon.org is the place to go and make a donation. Make sure you do that. It's a really good thing. So what else you been up to? I mean, we were talking about going back to work because, hey, I don't know if you've noticed, things are kind of expensive out there.
They are.
Bills.
They are.
I mean, you've got those ex-wives you got to keep in the lap of luxury.
And I turned 63 a couple weeks ago, and people are like, "Oh, are you bummed that you're getting old?" I'm absolutely not bummed I'm getting old, because when I turned 65, I stopped paying alimony. Like the day I turned 65, I can't wait to be 65.
So you get Medicare and get rid of the alimony.
Yes, and some of my retirement from SAG. And when I stopped paying alimony, I could afford to buy back the house I lost in the divorce. I'm not even kidding. And so, I've also got to work a lot in Europe, Italy, the UK. Been very grateful to have those opportunities last year to have. But now we're back. I shot a pilot in Alaska last month, and I shot a movie I just finished here called A Marriage Made in Heaven, which is ironic, and it's fiction. So I'm grateful to work. I'm grateful. I'm back doing stand-up comedy at the Improv and a Comedy Store in different places. Stand-up comedy took such a big hit with this, and to start to be able to do, because that's my annuity, to go out and do stand-up comedy. I also do autograph shows, and people are like, "Is that weird?" I love them, because you get all these characters, like these convention, Comic-Cons, and they come all dressed up, And so I'm very grateful that I could take care of my kids by doing these things.
Yeah, no, it's got to be an interesting story, because I know you're one of the hardest working guys. I know you're always involved in something, so I always give you credit for that. And one of the things that I saw that you're involved in is this documentary about about the sexual abuse at Liberty University, which is a story that I don't think got enough attention. Tell me about it.
Well, there's 22 Jane Does at Liberty University that were sexually assaulted, raped, etc., and it was covered up by the school. And so I've gotten to know those brave, diverse young women, and they filed a lawsuit first, and they're going through all that, but we're doing a documentary series about them, and it's been very inspiring. One was 15. She was there at Liberty University, which Liberty University wants to claim it's the safest university in Virginia. And so they don't report rapes.
Right.
They don't report assaults. This young woman was 15 at a debate camp, and she got raped, and they didn't take her to the police station. They took her to the Liberty police station. They didn't take her to that hospital. They had her debate coach come down and take pictures of her injuries, of her rape injuries. And they didn't even tell her mother. And there's a million stories like this where they're like, well, we're Christian. We got to believe in forgiveness. This will make other Christians look bad if you report this. And they use all that BS that these phony Christians use. And certainly the Falwells.
Yeah.
So they got to be held accountable.
Yeah, I mean, I look at that whole thing, and it's all just a scam. I mean, once you get to that religion incorporated, all just a scam, and it's one of those things that is so infuriating, because I know good religious people, I know good God-fearing Christian people who are salt of the earth, who listen to these charlatans, and who are taken in by these people, and it's disgraceful.
It's a scam. It's like Trump raising money. Hundreds of millions of dollars for his fake election stuff. I mean, everybody's got a scam. The whole Trump family obviously has that, but I assume he stole it from these Christian folks who play on the fears of vulnerable people, and they say, "Hey, it's them against us. It's the other. It's the non-white people, especially the white evangelicals now, where they're." And I just know this from life. Anytime a human being is the top of some chain of something, instead of God, there's trouble. Because human beings are not, to say we're above the rest of the people is just not, and they act out and they do these heinous things. But I think that things, and I really have to compliment Giancarlo Granda, who was the pool boy that with the Falwells, because him coming forward, me getting to know him inspired these women. They're like, oh my God, that's embarrassing what he's talking about. But we can do this because we're going to do this without shame. That's what he has done. He has stood up for himself. And I think one thing led to another. And here we are.
Yeah, here we are. You're listening to The Rick Smith Show. We're with Tom Arnold, actor and comedian. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Give us a call, 1-866-416-RICK, 1-866-416-7425. I got to get your thoughts on the last couple of days of insanity coming out of the Senate Judiciary Committee. Now, predictably, the Senate Republicans couldn't seem to hold their water. If it were a black person, I think they could have held it together. If it were a woman, I think they could have held it together. But the fact that it was a black woman, they just couldn't. They had to go after the contraception. Had to go after the interracial marriage. Had to go after the gay marriage. Had to go after it all. Basically repeal the entire 20th century, all in one hearing. I'm curious your thoughts on what you saw.
Well, the funniest part is Lindsey Graham saying, we're not going to be like the Kavanaugh hearings, except we're going to be exactly like, and all we're going to talk about is the Kavanaugh hearings. And I got a lot of respect for that judge, because she didn't weep. Like, there's something about women that are inherently stronger. And when I saw Kavanaugh weep and cry, like just a crazy face, sad cry, that's why he shouldn't have been on the court.
Yeah.
Right there. You got to have a certain disposition. But these guys, now Josh Hawley and Ted Cruz, have you ever seen a picture of them kissing their wives? I'm telling you, it is creepy, and it's forced, and it's weird. And people keep saying, well, they know better. They're intelligent. They went to Harvard or whatever, but they just have no shame. And they're going to ride this thing. Apparently, power in their mind, going on Fox News, becoming the potential president is more important than being true to yourself or honest or honorable. And it's made me so uncomfortable to watch the whole thing. And she's an amazing judge and an amazing human and an amazing American success story. And these guys just look ridiculous.
Yeah, and I look at them, and on Tuesday, my mind was in this place of, I want to see their search histories, because they were so fixated on, you're soft on pedophiles. I want to see which one of them is the pedophile, because generally when someone's that fixated on it, that's something generally that's their direction.
Well, it was also weird. Ted Cruz showed the picture of that kid's book. Like, that was weird. Like, that made me uncomfortable as a parent, just watching him, try to use that. And it just looked, it's definitely beneath the office. But, these guys all have something going. I don't want to, because people know Lindsey Graham has never been married, and I don't care about that. I wish he would stand up for people in the same place, but they want to go to this specific trans athlete. Like, that's their signal, and that is something that, you have to have compassion for, but that's something that has to be figured out in the NCAA, and not, they're obsessed with there being two sexes. And, Rick, the truth is there are 1% of the babies, or 0.1% in the country, are born with both sex organs. They don't talk about that a lot. So I would like to hear what they want to do there. And usually a doctor makes a decision, if but it's not black and white. And, I have a gay brother who's been married. By the way, I've been married 4 times, divorced, and I have performed the marriages to 4 couples, all gay, all still married. So I'm a better preacher than I am a husband, apparently. But yeah, it's ugly, and it does get you, because you're like, wait a minute, do women athletes, they're being cheated, they're being, and it's complicated. And
it is complicated.
You got to handle it the right way. And you can't pick on people. You can't pick on trans kids. These guys have gone so far to the right in Texas and Florida. I am looking forward to Trump taking down Ron DeSantis, because he will take down Ron DeSantis, because Ron DeSantis is bragging too much. And Trump just started bragging last week about how he created him. And it's going to go like this. And there's going to be something. I'm really looking forward to that.
Yeah, because Trump does that. He builds people up simply so he can tear them down.
Right. And Ron DeSantis that will happen. Mark my words.
So let me ask you this, as you're looking, down the road here, because, Trump seems to be devolving as well. All the people that he had, supported, now they aren't pure enough. He's tearing into them. How do you see the primary? How do you see this next election coming up? I mean, all of the conventional wisdom is Democrats are going to get slaughtered. How do you see things playing out?
I don't believe that. I believe there's a lot of key races that we have to hit. There's a lot of key. We didn't do a great job with going door to door in 2020 because we couldn't, because of COVID. But our ground game has to be better. Trump, the Republican cowards are waiting for us Democrats to get rid of Trump for them. That's 100% a fact. He is the most dangerous person to them in the world. And he's going to start picking people off and having lunatics run for office. And they're either going to have to support them, which puts them very vulnerable, because even common sense Republicans are like, yeah, Herschel Walker, he doesn't, and just listen to him talk. And so I think he's going to start. I think that the reason they lost the Senate was because of Donald Trump. They know that he lost. No one's ever lost all 3 parts of the government at the same time, and yet Republicans consider him a winner.
Yeah,
and
they're still apes. Think about it.
Yeah, Yeah, that's right. That's the thing about it. I know you saw that. And I know Herschel Walker because I had a sports show and interviewed him a few times.
Oh, he's an incredible athlete. He's not a politician.
Yeah, no, he's not, and he's got these issues, and all you got to do is let him talk, and say, hey, why are there's still apes around here? Think about it. That shows you how stupid he is, and you really should. Tommy Tuberville's pretty close to that stupid, and I love people from the sports world, but when they transition into politics, it gets, they may be leaders, but Herschel Walker, he's going to collapse. There's just too much. He's done too many crazy things. And then when he has to talk or debate, because he thinks he knows so much. And I think anybody that runs for office, you got to study. You have to understand what you're talking about. And there's been several Republicans that got just elected, and Marjorie Taylor Greene and Boebert, that just know nothing. They didn't even try to know anything. And they aren't trying to pass any, legislation, and they've gotten away with that just by being on Twitter and spelling words wrong and doing all this. And so, I think we're going to beat Boebert in Colorado. I think our candidate will win there. I also think that you'll be surprised because I think we have a good chance to keep the House and the Senate. I think things are that's a long time away. And, they may try to stop people from voting. But that happened last time, and it seemed like people got really PO'd and lined up. And that's what you're going to see this time. And that's the only way we get rid of these phony Greg Abbotts and that just are cruel. And they think, well, this plays to, let's attack people. Let's be cruel. And so I think it's good. I have good thoughts for this next year.
I'm hoping you're right. I'm hoping that the GOP has gone so far to the extreme that they are so radical and so off the beaten path that even the faithful are going, I can't go that far, and sanity prevails. Although I look to the other side, I fear too much Fox, too much of the other places. Even more trouble. But Tom, as always, it's great talking with you. Again, I want to pimp the big camp. I hope folks will go to campdelcorazon.org /gala. That's camp, CAMP, Del, DELCORAZON.org /gala. We'll get links out on social media, how you can take a look at that. Make sure that you make a donation. All of that money goes to the camp, right?
100%. 100%. We work out of a garage. And like I say, we've had 14,000 kids come through there. We pay everything. We get them there. We get them on a boat. We fly them in, get them on a boat in Long Beach. They have a very fun boat trip out there. I know because I've been on it. And we really changed lives. And it's the best thing you could do. So thank you, Rick.
Good stuff, Tom. I hope you'll come back and talk to us again real soon. As always, great talking to you, my friend.
Thank you, brother.
Thanks so much, our good friend Tom Arnold. Again, make sure you check out the website, campdelcorazon.org. We'll get links out on social media, how you can take a look at that. And look, I was looking at the website. Looks like an incredible thing. And I hope folks will make a donation and help them out. Like I said, Tom's been doing that like 25 years. It's every time I talk to him, this is one of those things. This is important. We got to do this. So I hope you'll take a look at it. Gonna take a quick break. If you're just joining us or have missed any of the program, make sure you get the podcast. Yes, the podcast. Very important podcast. But if you're not a subscriber, by all means, please do so. Quick break. Right back. Stick around.
The vegetation's gone. It looks like some kind of lunar landscape. It's just an amazing amount of devastation.
Texas wildfires continue to spread across the state. Supreme Court confirmation hearings begin at fraught moment for climate action. Plus,
temperatures there have been a whopping 70 degrees above normal.
Both Antarctica and the Arctic see unprecedented simultaneous extreme heat waves.
All of those extremes and more straight ahead. From BradBlog.com, I'm Brad Friedman.
And I'm Desi Doyen.
Stand by for 6 minutes of independent green news, politics, analysis, and snarky comment.
The coldest place on planet Earth underwent an extreme heat wave, and that was nothing like we've ever recorded before.
Maybe, but I bet you'll be recording it again. This is your Green News Report. Okay, Desi Doyen, bad news for you and your old home state, I'm afraid.
Yes, extreme swings in weather in Texas contributed to 7 wind-driven wildfires burning in the central part of the state, known collectively as the Eastland Complex Fire. Those fires have incinerated more than 50,000 acres of land since late last week, destroyed at least 50 homes, and killed a deputy who was trying to help residents escape. Texas Republican Governor Greg Abbott has declared a disaster in 11 counties. Fire officials are pleading with residents to use extreme fire caution because the region is experiencing fire weather, exceptionally low humidity, heat, drought, and high winds.
One message that I would like to exaggerate and express is that we are not out of danger yet. So we just ask that the community take real sincere caution in your outdoor activities and just help us help you by being safe and cautious.
You know, Texas Governor Greg Abbott has had to declare a lot of emergencies for climate-related disasters of late. Any reason to believe that he's starting to get it?
No, none whatsoever. He's running for re-election.
In Texas.
The State Forest Service says just over the last week, nearly 180 fires have burned more than 100,000 acres across the state. Scientists say extreme rains led to lush growth of vegetation that was followed by extreme drought and unseasonably warm temperatures, making the new fuel super combustible.
I'm sure it was just a fluke. Nothing to worry about, Governor Abbott.
Climate change intensified wildfires are also linked to accelerating warming in the Arctic. A new study confirms that dense plumes of wildfire smoke are drifting to the Arctic, where the tiny particles called brown carbon absorb sunlight and turn it into heat, both in the air and on the ice, where it intensifies melting. The researchers warn that brown carbon from wildfires is a significant but undercounted factor that may help explain why the Arctic is warming 3 times faster than the rest of the planet. Extreme swings hit both of the planet's poles with unprecedented simultaneous extreme heat waves, described as, quote, unthinkable by scientists. At the South Pole, temperatures over the eastern Antarctic ice sheet shattered records over the weekend, soaring 70 degrees Fahrenheit above normal, unlike any ever before observed.
Man.
The Washington Post reports scientists are shocked, saying, quote, the event is completely unprecedented and upended our expectations.
Oh, I'm sure it's just a freak. It'll never happen again.
At the same time, at the North Pole, the Arctic hit 50 degrees above normal.
I'm sure totally a freak. Never will happen again, right?
Meanwhile, in Russia's horrific war on Ukraine, the Russian Air Force has utterly destroyed a steel and ironworks factory, one of the largest in Europe, in the besieged city of Mariupol. Officials say workers tried very hard to mitigate environmental impacts before the site was destroyed, and they say it will take years to rebuild. But a member of the Ukrainian parliament, Lesia Vasilenko, focused on building back better, saying on Twitter, quote, in 2021, that steel plant was a top polluter in Ukraine. Destruction brings creation, as the plant will be rebuilt using green technology.
Well, nice. I like that.
Finally, Monday marked the first day of Senate confirmation hearings for Judge Kentanji Brown Jackson, President Biden's nominee to fill the seat of retiring U.S. Supreme Court Justice Stephen Breyer. The confirmation hearings come just a few weeks after the Supreme Court heard oral arguments in the biggest climate change case in a decade. Democratic Senator Dianne Feinstein of California underscored why Supreme Court appointments matter.
In the current term alone, the Supreme Court is addressing cases on issues that are foundational to who we are as a country. It is considering the legal authority of the Environmental Protection Agency to fight climate change.
If confirmed, Judge Jackson would not get to rule on that case. But it's another example of how elections have consequences.
They do indeed. For much more on all of those stories and the ones we couldn't get to today, check out our website at greennews.bradblog.com.
Are you tired of think tank approved corporate news and commentary? Are you tired of CEOs telling you what to think, who to hate, and who to vote for? Well, welcome to the Rick Smith Show. We don't take orders from some boardroom, and we don't do focus groups or talking points. We don't work for them, and we never will. I'm Rick Smith, and I work for you. Join us daily at thericksmithshow.com and download the podcast and never miss a minute.
Welcome back to the Rick Smith Show. Now, here is Rick Smith.
So here was an interesting story today. Evidently, federal authorities didn't let Paul Manafort get on a plane. Evidently, he was heading to Dubai, flying out of Miami on Emirates Airlines. And it's one of those things where, my mind first went to this spot where, I know he was convicted of crimes. I know that, Trump pardoned him, so, well, he shouldn't be held over. And I was like, why did they, why is his passport no good? I guess it's invalid. I guess it just ran out. I'm assuming, but they're saying it's an invalid passport, so they wouldn't let him go to Dubai. And I'm going, well, why is he going to Dubai? Oh, yeah, that's right. There are puddle jumpers that'll get you into Russia. That's right. That makes perfect sense. Now I know where he was probably going. Well, yeah, it is what it is. Anyway, here to share some thoughts on what's going on around the world and maybe what's going to happen in the next election cycle. And maybe a little bit about this. Maybe my next guest has got an idea where Paul Manafort was heading. That's why I've asked Joe Trippi to come talk with us. Joe is the founder of Lever Communications, also a senior advisor at the Lincoln Project. Also launching this week the brand new program, Join the Union. Their website, jointheunion.us, had a great town hall this week. Joe, thanks for taking time for us.
Oh, no, Rick, great to be with you.
So let me ask you, the Manafort thing, is this a big deal? Does it matter?
Yeah, I think it is. One of the things that was interesting, a lot of flight trackers have been tracking flights in Moscow and where they're going to. And about 3 or 4 days ago, there was a big scramble of oligarch jets to Dubai, of all places, Rick. I don't know if you're noticing, seeing any coincidence here. And then suddenly today, Manafort is on his trying to get to Dubai. So yeah, no, I think, and look, he clearly knew his passport was invalid. And so, he tried to slip through, but it didn't happen. The question is why? I mean, was he going there to meet, meet these oligarchs, or is something else about to drop and he wanted to get out of the country? I don't know the answer to any of that, but it sure is pretty suspicious given other flight movements by Russian oligarchs and where they've been traveling to.
Yeah, and for me, given his his past, all of his connections in Ukraine and abroad there, lot of hairy, lot of unanswered questions, and if he's fleeing, I gotta wonder what shady is abound. Well,
I'm with you on that one. I agree.
Well, nothing trustworthy there in my view. But I got to also ask you about this. I know on Monday you guys launched the jointheunion.us website and the program. Tell me a little bit about what you guys are doing, this Join the Union program you guys got going on.
Yeah, well, it's the union, as in, all of us working to form a more perfect union, and as in the union that fought the Confederacy, to preserve our union, our republic, and our democracy. What we're doing is we're forming a place at jointheunion.us where everybody in the country, regardless of party, urban, rural, can join and become part of the grassroots effort to defeat the authoritarian movement here in the United States and win the 2022 and 2024 elections for pro-democracy candidates. And so you come, there's no donation page, any of that stuff. It's you come, you sign up, you tell us where you are, what you're interested in doing, whether it's being an activist who organizes or registers to vote, or whether you're an attorney who would like to maybe help get court injunctions to keep polls open on election night, or we're forming a tech corps to develop tools for people out there in their community to activate and get out the vote. And so there's all these different things you can sign up to do. And then what the union is going to do is place you with a campaign or an effort like Fair Fight Georgia, let's say in Georgia, or Mark Elias's group, Democracy Docket, on the court case stuff. Everybody has some time or some energy. And what it's for really is all those people out there who donate, and retweet things, but still everywhere we go ask, there's got to be something I can do beyond that to stop this crazy authoritarian movement and the threat to our democracy. So jointheunion.us is the place to do that. That's where we're trying already, Rick, 50,000 Americans have joined.
Wow.
And we hope to get this to be millions of Americans all active out there in their community, local, and making a difference in these House races, these Senate races, these Secretary of State races, that are going to be very important in terms of as Trump's already said, quoting Stalin, it's not who votes, it's who counts the votes. And so they're doing a lot of disruptive stuff there. So the union is a way to fight all of that. And it's about all of us in a union to protect our democracy.
Yeah, and the idea of participatory democracy. This is this is something right up my alley. The idea of we the people being involved. And look, I don't care which side of the aisle you're on. We should want to hold on to liberal democracy. We should want to be able to hold on to this wonderful experiment of self-rule that has been passed down through the generations. And look, we've had bumps in the road, and right now, we're hurling through the air over a pretty giant bump, and we've got some work to do.
Yeah, no, and this is where if people want to do the work, want to help beyond, like I said, beyond giving a contribution or retweeting something, this is a way to get active. And by the way, if you don't want to knock on doors or do phone calls, there's all kinds of other things. We need help. And there's so many good groups locally in your local community that don't know you want to help that we can plug you into. So this is a big, I think one of the most important things I've been involved in or done, I'm proud of a lot of stuff I've done in politics, but this is winning in protecting our democracy in 2022 and 2024, I think is the most important thing I can be part of.
Yeah,
and I hope everybody
you made
else out there.
an important part there, because a lot of people want to do things, they just don't know where their talents and where their interests would be best used. This might be a good idea. You're listening to the Rick Smith Show. We're here with Joe Trippi. He's the founder of Lever Communications, senior advisor over at the Lincoln Project. Also, he is with jointheunion.us. Make sure you check out that page as we've been talking about. Now, the reason I think this is really important is, you look at the headlines across the country, and, just about every day you see this headline somewhere. New NRCC poll, shows, House GOP, Democrats in trouble. We're seeing this all over the place. And you read the numbers, that, the NRCC poll in 77 competitive House districts shows Republicans lead in generic ballot by 4 points. And you're going, oh my God, the sky's falling, because in those 77 districts, it's all over. And there's hope and despair. But it's not as bleak as they paint it, is it?
Not at all. Look, redistricting, let's take that. The beginning of last year, Republicans were supposed to be able, with their power in the legislatures, to draw 10 new ruby red districts that did not exist in 2020 because they could redraw the lines. It didn't happen. It's gone the other way. It's going to be +6 Biden districts. So right there, you have a swing of 16 districts. That 10 that should have gone Republican, now it's not. That didn't happen. There are 6 more positive Democratic districts. But then, look, these. First of all, and this is my second point on why we need Democrats should be and pro-democracy people should be much more optimistic. They're nominating loons, Rick. I mean, lunatics. I mean, some of the people that they're nominating look like they're on the way to be nominated in the House, make Marjorie Taylor Greene look normal. So right now you ask a generic hey, are you for your imaginary Republican or are you going to vote for an imaginary Democrat? Well, wait till they see who the imaginary Republican is. It reminds me of 2010 when they had the witch, I think, in O'Donnell, I think in Delaware. Christine O'Donnell. Yeah, and Mr. Legitimate rape in down in Missouri, I think it was.
Yeah.
I mean, they nominated lunatics and they lost Senate seats they should have won. And so when you look at these generic polls, yeah, it's like this imaginary Republican versus an imaginary Democrat. The reality is, and I'll use like the Senate race in Pennsylvania as a way to talk about it because most people know the names up there. But okay, now you ask them whether you're going to vote for Dr. Oz or Fetterman or Dr. Oz versus Connor Lamb. I'll bet you the difference between both a Fetterman Oz race and a Connor Lamb Oz race is different, right? It won't be the same exact number. Once people look at those two matchups, that's the same thing that's going to happen in race after race after race. And what's happening right now, they're nominating crazies. And across the country, when you look at the caliber of candidates, and by the way, it's not hard to have better caliber candidates than they're putting forward, but really strong Democratic candidates. And I think, like, even looking at the Pennsylvania race, you can have you can have your cup of tea there, whether it's Fetterman or Lamb, but either one of them would be better than Dr. Oz. I mean, in terms of their ability as a candidate and their ability to communicate and what they'd be fighting for. So no, I think ignore the generic numbers right now. And by the way, there's plenty of generic polls out there who show Democrats with 4-point leads. It's just, kind of the really interesting thing is, and we talked about this, is the 77 districts, because you and I both know there are not 77 battleground districts in the country. With all the redistricting that's gone on, it might be 30. So you wonder, maybe 38. I'm wondering, did they expand out to 77 with districts that were more Republican so that they could show that +4 number? In other words, did they only done that poll in the 30 or so truly up in the air districts, would they have gotten that kind of number? Makes me wonder, because 77 there are not.
Yeah, because that was the first thing I brought up, and I think you heard me say that. I'm going, there aren't 77 competitive districts in the country, because we have, sadly, and this is where where I am not opposed to gerrymandering. Joe, I wish we could gerrymander to get competitive districts. I want people fighting over issues. I want people, who's going to work hardest for working people, who's going to make sure that we get better roads and bridges and education and healthcare and all of those things that we think are important. Who's going to fight for that? Not who's going to do the idiocy and nonsense that we saw in the Senate Judiciary Committee today.
It's all performative. It was all performative act. That's all it was for the crazy QAnon base of all people.
Yeah, I mean, to steal the Ben Sass line, the jackassery. I mean, come on already.
It's amazing.
But it's just one of these things that I'm hoping people this election cycle jump in and get involved. And again, if you want to jump in, get involved. Make sure you check out their website at jointheunion.us, and we'll make sure we get links out on social media so you can check out Joe Trippi's site. And look, just new, and I like new shiny things. This will move us in this direction. I did want to get some of your thoughts on. I can't let you go without getting your thoughts on what's going on over in Ukraine. We talked about Paul Manafort and him heading in that direction. And a lot of the bad actors in this country have had their hands in what's going on over in that part of the world. I mean, they have their oligarchs and we have our billionaire job creators. And I think both of them are probably just as bad on some level. But I wanted to get your thoughts on what's going on over there.
Well, I mean, look, Manafort got Putin's guy got him elected there. And then the country revolted and threw him out, and he Manafort's guy fled back to Moscow. The amazing, crazy thing about what a lot of the right is talking about, like, when you hear Tucker Carlson yapping about democracy, Ukraine's not a democracy. I mean, Zelensky won with 73% of the vote. against the corrupt establishment in Ukraine, threw them out. And so I think it's clear, and should have been clear to a lot of people, that Ukraine will fight and do everything they can to not come under his rule. There's no way. I said this 2 or 3 days before the invasion, that he did not understand the ferocity of the Ukrainian people, even after they had thrown out the last guy that Manafort put in.
Yeah.
So I think one, I don't know if you saw the report today that the communications between the U.S. military and Russian military have totally, they haven't talked in like a month since the invasion started, which is always a bad thing, because the accidental things that can trigger an escalation, those are usually solved by that kind of communication. So I think we're in a very dangerous place. I think Biden, I look at where we are and the real threat of this thing escalating. And, America's lucked out in the past where the right guy just showed up in the White House at the right time to match the moment. And I think, tomorrow's meetings in Europe that Biden arrived there late tonight, it's crucial. It's crucial for him to hold that alliance together. It's a critical moment, and I am really grateful that Joe Biden's the president of the United States in this moment, because it's much more perilous than people think. We've all thought, nuclear war is unimaginable, it'll never happen. I hope it stays that way, but I'm glad that we have calm, steady leadership and not shoot from the hip, just bombacity that we had for 4 years.
No, I'm right there with you. I'm exactly right there with you, Joe. But Joe, I appreciate the time. Again, I hope folks will check out the website, jointheunion.us. You can also check out the town hall that was on Monday, just /town hall. You can see some of that stuff as well. But Joe, great stuff. I appreciate the time. Hope you'll come back and talk to us again real soon.
Always, Rick. Thanks for having me.
Good stuff. Our good friend Joe Trippi. Make sure you check out the website again, jointheunion.us. Love to hear your thoughts. 1-866-416-RICK, 1-866-416-7425. Quick break, right back after this. And hey, by the way, did you download the podcast yet? Make sure you grab that. Share it with a friend. They'll love it. Quick break, right back after this. If you're a fan of the show, you've heard our labor history in 2 segments, and you can hear them on the radio pretty much anywhere in the U.S. Labor history has never been more important than it is right now. So here's what we'd like you to do. Tell a teacher. Tell a teacher that labor history is important and that they can get digestible 2-minute lessons that are absolutely free. Free to download, free to use, free to share. Tell a teacher to go to thericksmithshow.com/history and help us put labor back where it belongs, in the classroom. Generations of American workers fought, bled, and died to build the American way of life. It's our job to keep their stories alive. Go tell a teacher that we're here to help them do just that. Find us at thericksmithshow.com/history today.
Welcome back to the Rick Smith Show. Now, here is Rick Smith.
So this is one of those things that just makes you go, I'm so glad Joe Biden's president. Evidently, the rapper Kid Rock, he claims that the former guy wants to ask him for advice on U.S. policy on the Islamic State and North Korea. Yeah. So for all those people, no, Donald Trump, they handle foreign policy. he was literally asking Kid Rock for advice. Sorry, there's a lot of things I might ask Kid Rock for. I don't think on how to deal with international diplomacy. I don't know that that's in his wheelhouse. Just not going there. Sorry, not going there. But hey, I guess you got your cabinet, and if it is full of Ted Nugent's in the cabinet. Come on. Mo Brooks, as Tom Arnold pointed out, the guy who showed up at the January 6th in a place where everyone supposedly loves him, wearing a flak jacket, wearing the bulletproof vest, because even he was afraid that he would get shot. Now, the weird thing is, and you got to let this sink in for a moment, what came out today in a statement from Representative Mo Brooks, the Republican from Alabama, who in his Twitter bio says that Trump endorsed him. He said, quote, President Trump asked me to rescind the 2020 elections, immediately remove Joe Biden from the White House, immediately put President Trump back in the White House, and hold a new special election for presidency. In Brooks' statements, he said, as a lawyer, I've repeatedly advised President Trump that January 6th was the final election contest verdict, and neither the U.S. Constitution nor the U.S. Code permit what President Trump asked, period. This is a sitting member of Congress. Understand this. A sitting member of Congress. Someone who is proud of the fact that Trump was supporting him, and a loudly vocal Trump supporter, someone who was on the dais the day of January 6th, proudly there on January 6th, saying out loud, Trump told me to rescind the 2020 election, told me to throw Joe Biden out, told me to install him, told me to put him back in the White House, told me to undo it all, and this barely made news. You know where it didn't go? That F channel? Nothing. Radio silence. We're still focused on Lindsey Graham going, what religion are you? That's what we focused on. Not on the fact that Mo Brooks came out and said, I've repeatedly advised the president. Can't do it. The Constitution, the U.S. Code of Law, nothing. You can't do it. Also, for those Republicans in the Senate, North Carolina Lieutenant Governor Mark Robinson, someone who rails against abortion. Now, remember, I say this all the time. The people who are fixated on an issue, they're generally people who have done it. They're generally people who it's in their history. It's somewhere. This Lieutenant Governor Mark Robinson frequently goes after abortion rights. Crazy anti-abortion. Evidently back in 1989 paid for a woman to have an abortion. There's an H word. It's not that. Does hypocrite sound like a word? Yeah, it sounds like the word. But again, convenience for some of these folks, because this is what they do. Democracy, opportunity, choice for me, but not for thee. Hooray for me and not for thee. This is what these people do. And this is what they're going to do in the brave new world. They're going to get the health care. They're going to get the reproductive choice. They're going to get the contraception. They're going to get whatever they want because they've got the resources. It's you working stiff. It's you working poor. You're the ones who are going to get screwed in this. But they're going to be fine. Thank you very much. They're the elites going to be fine. Thank you very much. Have you seen the light yet? It's all a scam. It's all to keep us stupid. Sad stuff. I'm Rick Smith, and this is Labor History in 2. On this day in labor history, the year was 1918. That was the day the trial of 101 industrial workers of the world began in Chicago. Their alleged crimes? Speaking out against U.S. involvement in World War I. They were tried under the Espionage Act. But they were really targeted for prosecution because of their outspoken and radical labor organizing. In Chicago, 87 members of the union were held in the Cook County Jail for nearly a year before their trial. The so-called evidence in the case consisted mainly of newspaper articles and letters written by the IWW members. Most of them were before the U.S. had even entered the war. The trial lasted until August. The presiding judge was Kenshaw Mountain Landis, who shortly after the verdict would leave the bench to become the commissioner of Major League Baseball. In all, 150 Wobblies faced charges in Chicago, Wichita, Kansas, and Sacramento, California. Many received harsh sentences ranging from 5 to 25 years in prison. One of those convicted was Ralph Chaplin, the author of the labor anthem Solidarity Forever. In Leavenworth Prison, he continued to write verse. His poems reflected his yearning for freedom, including the lines, "Somewhere the dawn breaks laughing o'er the sea. To splash with gold the city's domes and towers, and countless men seek visions wide and free. In that alluring world that is now ours. But no one there could prize as much as we the open road, the smell of grass and flowers." In 1924, the last IWW prisoner from these trials was finally released from prison. But the crackdown had taken a major toll on labor organizations across the nation. Labor History in 2 brought to you by the Illinois Labor History Society and The Rick Smith Show.
Let's talk pills. To treat everything from allergies to heart problems, half of Americans take a prescription medicine every day, and nearly all of us reach for the pill bottle on occasion. It's perfectly safe, though, because the Food and Drug Administration regulates the ingredients that go into those medicinal compounds, right? Yes, assuming they're produced in the USA. Aren't they? Mostly, no. Take antibiotics. The New York Times reports that ingredients for the majority of these bacteria fighters are now made almost exclusively in China and India, as are the components of dozens of other major drugs. Unbeknownst to most Americans and to our doctors, China has become the world's preeminent supplier of medicines. As one major drug company puts it, if tomorrow China stopped supplying pharmaceutical ingredients, the worldwide pharmaceutical industry would collapse. What's at work here is mindless globalization and deregulation. Our politicians threw open the U.S. market to drug imports while also letting foreign manufacturers go uninspected and unregulated. So, companies located in China can cut corners and undercut our own regulated pill makers. America's last producer of penicillin's ingredients, for example, shut down in 2004, leaving us dependent on China. FDA, our supposed watchdog, doesn't even know where a drug's ingredients come from. Why? Because drug companies say they don't like to reveal their sources, so they don't. The Times found that one federal database lists the existence of about 3,000 foreign drug plants that ship to the U.S., while another lists 6,800. No one knows which is correct, if either. This is Jim Hightower saying, this is ridiculous. For the sake of America's health, security, and economy, let's regulate all pill makers and rebuild our own industry.
Welcome back to the Rick Smith Show. Now, here is Rick Smith.
So one of the things here on the program I like to focus on, I like to talk about, people getting good jobs. We've been talking about inflation. We've been talking about prices going up. In fact, I spent a little bit of time earlier on the program talking about, corporate America and how on one hand they're saying, hey, profits are through the roof. Our dividends are great. Sales are wonderful, but we're broke because we can't give raises to our workers because we're broke and we're firing people. You know how we stop that? We organize, we unionize, we have contracts that ensure that, cost of living adjustments so our wages don't get eaten away by inflation. Because I say, the best anti-inflation tool, a union card. The best way to get to the middle class, a union job. And that's why I love focusing on those jobs that provide all people with good opportunities, a pathway to the middle class and learning opportunities. And for me, The building trades have the best apprenticeship programs and one of the best pathways to the middle class. And right now, over the last couple of years, there has been a major push to be more inclusive, to bring more women into the building trades, which is why today I want to talk with Lilliana Calderon. She is the International Union of Bricklayers Health and Safety Manager. She's also the leader of the BAC's Sisters Rise group program to bring more women, be more inclusive, empower folks to come in and be more active in their union and, well, be part of that middle class. Lilliana, thanks for taking time for us.
Hi, thank you.
So let's start with your experience with you. How'd you become a bricklayer? I mean, it's not something you often think of a trade for women.
No, you're right. And honestly, it was dumb luck. I was in the right place at the right time. I grew up in Chicago. I was doing service industry work, and I came across a college career fair. And got in with Chicago Women in Trades, which is a non-for-profit organization who helps women get into non-traditional trades.
Right.
I was able to get with them and kind of figure out what I wanted to be as far as a tradesperson. And I went into bricklaying and fell in love with it. I went through my apprenticeship, got out of there, was working with the contractor for 14 years. They guided me through my apprenticeship, taught me all the skills I needed to have to succeed. I ran work for them. And then in the last year, I was offered a position with the International Union as the Health and Safety Manager. So, I mean, it's been a really great path for me.
And it's one of those things where, again, as I tell people, it's a pathway to get an education. It's a pathway to get a career, something that, through your life, it's a skill that you can take with you no matter if you stay with it, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, or you make a lifelong career out of it. It's something that you have regardless, and you're always going to be able to figure out how to eat. And it's just one of those things that I think is really important to highlight, especially in this time where, there are jobs out there, but very few career jobs out there. And for me, this is one of those.
No, you're absolutely right. I mean, I know my friends, some of my friends went to college and, they're not doing anything that they went to college for. And I tell them, get into the trades. The trades, it's free. You get in, you make a living for yourself, you make good wages, you get a pension at the end of it, I was able to buy my own house because I had a union job that gave me the wages and the ability to buy something for myself and feel proud about that.
Yeah, and you earn that. Look, as a bricklayer, you earn your money. There's no question about that. And the thing is like I said, you don't often think of women in the building trades, and which is why I think things are changing. And I know a lot of the trades, and we talked to a bunch of folks who are making this because, look, the reality is there are things that everyone can do, and there are jobs that need to be done, and we do need to be more inclusive, and we do need to be more focused on being and bringing more people in because, look, we need the bodies. I mean, there's so much that needs to be done.
No, you're right. I mean, being only 9% of women in construction, that's a really low number. I mean, there's women out there who really have the ability to do this kind of work. In the way we're trying, we built a women's group for the BAC. It's called RISE. It stands for Resource for Inclusion, Success, and Empowerment. And what we're trying to do there is get a community of women to basically support each other and bring each other up. So any issues we get on the job sites or any questions or how to navigate through just being a bricklayer or a mason, try to really help them get to the next level in their careers. Because if we can't help each other, how are we going to help bring in more women into this trade and even to the building trades as a whole?
Yeah. Now, being a bricklayer is a skilled trade. Now, most people think, well, you're just picking bricks up and setting them down. It's an awful lot more than that. And look, I'll tell you, I've built a brick wall and I didn't do a very good job of it. So it's a lot more involved than just picking things up and putting them down, which is why you do need the skills and you do need the training, and your union does the best job of getting folks the training And as you said, it's not something you have to pay a school for. It's not something you have to go into a lifetime of debt for. It's something that the membership and the contractors put together to make sure that you have a trained workforce to meet the demands that are out there today. And it's a great thing. And I highly suggest it. Or am I missing something?
No, you hit it right on the head. I mean, besides the training and the free training and the ability to have a career for a lifelong career that you choose, you're also getting trained on hazard awareness, safety, so that you're able to go to work and come back home to your loved ones. You can't get that anywhere else. I mean, if you're doing non-union work, you have to pay that out of pocket. As a union member, it's free.
Yeah, see, now I knew you were going to go there. I knew, Lilliana, as the health and safety person, you were going to go right to the safety. Because, look, I would expect that from you because I know that union work sites are much safer. In fact, I was watching an Instagram video just the other day, and it has this guy like 10 feet down underground. He's digging out, maybe you've seen this one. He's digging out a pipeline that they buried underground, and it's like 5 feet across, so it had a pretty wide span. And he's down there with a shovel digging out the pipe, and there's nothing around him. And he's like 10 feet underground, and there's a guy from OSHA somewhere, I think it was like Oregon, and the guy's like, "You got to get out of there." Who puts a guy 10 feet underground with no walls on the side? Those walls cave in, it's the end of him.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely right. And that's not the only instance where you see that. You see that just by using, not using personal fall arrest systems, in case you're working above 10 feet. Sometimes if you're not using that and you accidentally trip and you go over the ledge, what's going to save your life? Nothing. And if you're not trying to know that you need that equipment, you're not gonna survive that.
Yeah, there's so much, and this is why I think having a union, especially in the building trades, is so vitally important, and especially in this day and age, where there's so much, so much insanity out there. You're listening to the Rick Smith Show. We're with Lilliana Calderon. She is the International Union's Health and Safety Manager, also the leader of the Bricklayers Sisters Rise program. If you want to check out their website, bacweb.org is where you can go to check out the work that they do there. Now, look, we've kind of painted this rosy picture of people going and getting an education. It can't be all sunshine and rainbows, is it? I mean, this is a tough job. This is hard work. This is calluses on your hands. This is your back aching at the end of the day kind of stuff, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've only been out of the field for about a year, and I still feel the aches and pains of working in the field for 14 years, and it's not easy. And often, as a woman, you're the only woman on that job site, or perhaps the only woman for that contractor. So it's hard just alone as being a bricklayer, because it's tough work, but being the sole woman out on that job site, it can be rough. But with support of like our groups like the Rise Group or women's organizations that, like I said, Chicago Women in Trades, and there's many more women organizations that help women get through their trades, through the trades. I mean, with that kind of support, I mean, you can do anything as long as you have that.
Now, I got two daughters, Lilliana. I got two daughters, and I tell them the same thing. You can do anything you want to do. If they came to me and said, "Dad, I want to be a bricklayer," I got to be honest. My organs inside of me going, "Really? You want to do that?" That's really, my first thought would be, it's really heavy work. It's going to be, it's going to be a lot on you, but also it's a male dominated field. You're going to take a lot of guff. It's going to be, what advice do you give? What lessons did you learn going through that you would pass along? Let's say to my daughters, if they said, "No, I heard Lilliana, I want to become a bricklayer."
I'd say, first and foremost, you have to love what you do. There's a sense of pride knowing that the work that you do is yours. That's what I have every time I see any building out there. There are going to be rough days, but tomorrow's a new day. Treat it as a new day, as a new learning experience. Everything that happens to us, we just have to make sure that we learn from it and be better. It is a tough trade, but it's tough out in the world, no matter where you are and what career you choose. But it will get better. And there are going to be co-workers, male co-workers, counterparts that help you through that too, and help you get those skills that you need to become successful.
And the more women that come into it, I think the easier maybe
Correct.
it will be. Where someone like you who was a trailblazer, making that path for others, maybe it was a little bit more difficult. Maybe hopefully it gets easier. But you said something that every person that I know who's ever been in the trades says. I go past places that I've worked on, and they've always got to point it out. So do you do that? Do you do that to people, your kids or relatives, whenever you go by somewhere? You go, I did that. Do you do that?
I do that all the time. I think it gets annoying for my friends because I might point it out like 10 times, But I have pride in the work that I've done, and in the work of any tradesperson has ever done. Union jobs are great. I value what the union has provided me, and I value the work that I've done, and I want to show it to everyone that I see.
No, it's that kind of legacy too. I mean, there's that you've left something behind. You've put your mark on society, and it's that that sense of accomplishment, which is why I'm always a little envious of some of my tradespeople who can do the work that they do. Look, like I said, I built a wall. Not the big beautiful wall that the Trumpkins wanted, but I did build a wall, and it is well. I think you would fail me, but. But it is there. It is there. But it I'm sure not up to your standards.
That's all right. Well, you tried, right? But you have that pride, and that's what it is. What it's all about: having that pride in that work that you do.
So last bit of questioning I got for you. What's the advice for people? How are we getting more women in? What's the word? And then when we make that pitch, how do you get to it? How do we do it? What's the actual command? If you want to become a bricklayer, go here. What's that?
Listen, I just think as construction goes as a whole, the culture has to change, and we have to be more inclusive. And the more we're more inclusive and try to bring more women in and have those women that are into leadership roles so that other women can see that there's a path forward, that you're going to get the attention of many, many, many more women that can see that as a potential and not as a man's world, right? Or it's a man's trade. That's what I got.
Yeah, I give your president, Timothy Driscoll, and all of your leadership, I give them credit. They have really, at least it's from the outside looking in, and maybe you can attest to it, that they have really, leaps and bounds over these last couple of years, given an attempt to reach out and bring more women in. And as more women come on, I think the culture will change. I think the work will get, just as good and better. I think the future is bright, especially for women going forward. And like I said, once the culture changes a bit, I think it will be easier.
No, you're absolutely right. And I hope that is true. And I believe it will be.
But Lilliana, I appreciate you taking some time for us, sharing your experience. Great stuff. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Good stuff. Lilliana Calderon. Again, check out their website, bacweb.org. We'll get links out on social media. I can check out the work that they do there. Also would love to hear your thoughts. You can email me, rick@thericksmithshow.com. I'm going to take a quick break. Right back after this. Stick around and listen to The Rick Smith Show, where working people come to talk. Think tank approved corporate news and commentary? Are you tired of CEOs telling you what to think, who to hate, and who to vote for? Well, welcome to the Rick Smith Show. We don't take orders from some boardroom, and we don't do focus groups or talking points. We don't work for them, and we never will. I'm Rick Smith, and I work for you. Join us daily at thericksmithshow.com and download the podcast and never miss a minute. Welcome back to The Rick Smith Show. Check out our website, thericksmithshow.com. Question. It's one of these things that, I often wonder about. how is it? And I've seen these happiness polls before. In fact, the latest World Happiness Report, which we talked about, I think, last week a little bit. But it came across my timeline again that, made me go, gee, and I spent a little time looking at it. It's the Happiness, Benevolence, and Trust during COVID-19 and Beyond study. And it listed the countries around the world and their level of happiness and on how they rated them. And again, Finland for the umpteenth year in a row is the happiest country in the world, with their health care and their standard of living and, all the stuff that they have, all their socialism. And it came to me, have you noticed that the happiest countries in the world are, socialist hellholes, according to the right-wing nut jobs? Have you noticed that anytime you talk about, one of these countries that are, really happy, like Finland, like Denmark, like Iceland, like Switzerland, the Netherlands, Sweden, Norway, any of those places, that they're all just socialist. Have you noticed that? With their health care and their safety, their social safety net, and the fact that their families don't struggle as much. That their education system isn't as attacked as ours. And the reason I bring this up is I look at this study that just came out. In fact, it was what I was hit with first thing this morning from the Hill. Evidently, this report by the Selzer and Company polling group at Grinnell College, they say just 24% of Americans are happy with what their children are learning in public schools. Now, this is a hit job on public school, and understand that. They say that nearly 2/3 of voters across all lines, education, race, economics, no matter what it is, 2/3 say that public schools are off the track, off the rails, bad. And, a knee-jerk reaction is to go, well, I think you're being a little crazy. Because, right now, the hyperbolic mentality of it's all about that theory of race that's critical. So, immediately, because this is where the Republican mind is, it's all about that race theory thing. And Republicans in this poll, to be quite fair, were overwhelmingly off the rails. The largest gap, 83% of Republicans polled, and, said schools were going in the wrong direction. 87% of people who voted for Trump said schools are in the wrong direction. So overwhelmingly, Republicans see public school is just horrible because they've been, for decades, have been told public school is horrible. It's those liberal teachers, filling those kids' heads with liberal democracy and being nice to each other. And now they're being told they're making children feel bad for racism, which is nonsense. But I sat and I thought about it. And I have been a critic of public schools for a while as well. And not my public school teacher. And this is where the difference between the loony, crazy, radical right folks are, and that it's these radical, these lefty, loony teachers who are filling our children's minds with all this hippie liberal stuff. And where I'm at is, you go back to the Bush's No Child's Dime Left Behind. No Child's Behind Left. No Child Left Behind, which left all the children behind. Which brought in this regime of high stakes testing, this entire teaching to the test mentality. I've been against that from the very beginning. In fact, none of our kids took any of the high stakes testing. And if you remember at the beginning, what they were doing is they were saying, well, if your school fails the tests, we're going to take money away. So if you're in the bottom 5% of schools, we're taking money away. And then eventually we're going to take all your money away and you're going to close. Well, like anybody who's ever been to a card game, especially one that's a little crooked, you know that, the VIG, the House always, gets 2%. Well, in this game, in this rigged game, the House is getting 5%. And if you play long enough, eventually all of the schools were going to fail. You were going to strip money out of all of them. So eventually this was a plot to destroy public education decades ago. The whole testing regime was set up to destroy public education. And they've used it effectively. Because now all teachers are forced to do is teach to the test. And you see that. Oh, this is important. It's going to be the on the final on this standardized test. The boogeyman for a long time also was Common Core. Remember that? You don't hear about the boogeyman anymore, do you? They killed the name and they privatized it, didn't they? It's now under the corporate proprietary secrecy stuff. It's all in the software, but you don't know about it anymore because it's in all the proprietary stuff that we've now paid for to corporate America that they've now patented and we buy from them. All of these privatization schemes. So when I sat and I thought about it, how would I have answered that poll? Is public education on the wrong track? I would argue policy is off the wrong track. My teachers know. Love my kids' public school teachers. I think their hearts are in the right place. I think the policy directives of the people who are pushing them in a direction, not so much. And it's got nothing to do with race. It's got everything to do with money and privatization and the push towards, oh my God, the charter school ripoff scheme, especially those cyber charters. And don't even get me started on the child abuse and the homeschooling nonsense that goes on. And all of the people who, because understand at the end of the game, where they want this to go. Where they want to go with all of this attack on public education is there's a movement out there that wants to have every dollar spent on education to be put on the head of each child so that every child is worth, let's say, $15,000 a year to educate. This is where the homeschool folks are looking to cash in, especially the quiverful folks, the 19 and counting or the 20 and counting, those folks. You got 10 kids, $15,000 a kid, that's $150,000 a year to homeschool the kids into your narrow-minded insanity. That's the fantasy. That's the dream. That's their goal. And it's what these organizations have been pushing for. Destroy public education. Get people to think that what is in front of it is horrible. It's on the wrong track. And then push policies to make it divisive. And it's the moneyed interest. Understand, Education Incorporated, they want to get their greasy palms into the education budgets. They want to dig elbow deep into the trough and come out with the golden nuggets. And what does that mean? Well, it means less opportunity for your kids and mine. It means an education system that we don't control. And look, I'm all in favor of local control of a public education system. And for all those people going, but Rick, they're teaching that theory about race that's critical. No, they are not. Get your head out of that F channel. Talk to your teacher. Here's an idea. Oh my gosh, a thought. Talk to your teacher. Anyway, love to hear your thoughts. Email me, rick@thericksmithshow.com, especially if you're crazy. Those usually go to the top of the heap. rick@thericksmithshow.com. Also, make sure you check out the website, thericksmithshow.com. And if you missed any of today's program, the podcast is there or wherever you get your podcasts, from iTunes to iHeart, Podbean to Stitcher, everywhere in between. Wherever you get it, we are there. Subscribe, share, like, comment, all of that. Thanks for being here. We'll see you back here next time.
You've been listening to The Rick Smith Show. Email Rick at rick@thericksmithshow.com. Until next time, this has been The Rick Smith Show, where working people